Hey, welcome back to the Morning Brew. I'm Larry Aarons with Amber Hendren and Ian Anderson, who is publisher, president of Albuquerque Business First. It's always good to start the business week with you guys, and it's good to have you back, Ian. Thanks.
Thank you for having me. Morning.
Good morning.
He always hits it out of the park, Amber. He just,
Indeed.
all right. We're still talking a little Tesla.
Sure.
And you wrote a piece that said, you know, losing Tesla, if you want to characterize that as losing,
Right.
Not getting the Tesla factory may be one of the best things that's ever happened to this state and community.
Well, our editor, Rachel Sam, she wrote the piece, and it could be the best thing that ever happened to us. It really, it depends on us. You know, at the end of the day, I think, you know, what Rachel made some great points, and it really reverberated into the business community. We're kind of searching for a savior. You know, we're waiting for that silver bullet. We are waiting for, you know, the next Intel. I mean, and Tesla was multiples times Intel, and that isn't going to get us to where we need to go. So it's one of those things that when Rachel and I were talking about it, she was saying this could be the best thing that ever happened to us, because if we would have gotten Tesla, you know, it would have been very easy for us to sit back on, you know, just sit back on our hands and say, okay, well, there's 6,500, we've got it. You know, we're going to get, you know, construction jobs and some of the spin-off jobs, but it doesn't really address the fundamental issue, which is we need to grow companies organically. We need to recruit companies, but we need to diversify our economy here in New Mexico and in Albuquerque. You know, gosh, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're relying on a company. I think Q1 they put out almost 8,000 cars. So, you know, John DeLorean did about that in his first run. So back in the early '80s, and you don't want to put all your eggs into that basket. So, you know, it's really, as she was saying, it's up to us. And I think continuing the progress that you're seeing here downtown in Innovate ABQ and Innovation Central, and now Ingenuity Central. There are all these great things that are happening, and they're stacking up. We just, you know, we need to continue those efforts, and we can't really, we can't lose focus of what the progress that we are making now.
So what do we have to offer, and why is New Mexico and Albuquerque in particular a great place to build a business? What do we have that makes us competitive?
Great question, Amber.
So it's
I just want people out there to make it work here, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, from an Albuquerque standpoint, I mean, it's the population center. It's the population center, the business center. We did a cover story last week. It was the tale of two cities, right? So Santa Fe and Albuquerque. We're so close, but we are different worlds when it comes to working together. And we talked to some businesses that are based out of Santa Fe, because they have the international name recognition. And Albuquerque benefits from its proximity to Santa Fe. And when we were talking to businesses that choose to put their flag there, they say their lawyers are here, their accounting firms are here, all the professional services, not all, but I mean the ones that we talked to, they're using Albuquerque businesses. You know, but when it comes to the arts and the galleries and you know, the culture, that's what Santa Fe is doing. So we took a deep dive into how can we work. What's it going to take to get us to work more collaboratively as two cities? It's not something that hasn't been done before. You have Salt Lake City and Provo. You've got Phoenix and Tucson, Denver and Boulder. You know, there aren't enough people in this state for us not to be working together.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And our arts and culture here in Albuquerque is definitely alive and well and growing, as we know, because we get to interview people from this community all the time.
Absolutely.
And they're just not as out and proud as they are in Santa Fe, but we definitely have a huge we have a huge art scene here. And the rail yard, just the fact that the rail yard is so successful with 4,500 people coming out, that's proof that that we love our artists and we love our craftspeople.
You know, and I think no, yeah, absolutely right. And I think the the ability to collaborate more is certainly there. So, I mean, Santa Fe rail yards, you know, they've had a very vibrant reinvention of their rail yards there. So the mayor of Santa Fe, Javier Gonzalez, he spoke to us about how open and really just willing to meet and discuss and collaborate on ideas that Mayor Barry is. And now they're looking at their own, you know, they've been watching intently on how Innovate ABQ is going, and now they're launching a very similar effort. And talking with Gary Opedal, Director of Economic Development, and you're starting to see, even though politically they have very different views, that they can agree on one thing, and that's that, you know, we need to work together to grow our economies.
Yeah.
So.
I like the local emphasis with the mayors, because I think the mayors have their hand on what's going on in the communities. I really don't like what's going on at the state level. You know, with this Tesla thing, all the politicians in Santa Fe were pointing fingers and blaming each other. In my opinion, they're becoming less and less relevant to this whole process. And I think the business community finally is realizing that.
So, no.
I know they set tax policy and all of that, but we can always work around whatever they're doing.
I think what we found as we've been covering this reinventing Albuquerque and kind of driving the private sector and the private side view of things, politicians, I mean, at the end of the day, they work for us, right?
Yes.
So, you know, and
They seem to
unifying,
forget
That's a
that,
good
though.
yeah.
so unifying that voice and having, you know, and getting the private sector to come together and the business leaders, if we can come up with a message that we can get behind and agree on as a business community,
Right.
you know, politicians and the public sector, they will, it's not their job to kind of just let us off the leash and let the leash go out. We need to kind of stop waiting for that and just grow. We
That's
need to
the best way to do it.
You know, so we can't wait.
I think that's going on.
I think so too. I think you're starting to really see some unified voices. You're seeing a lot of people that, you know, I was sitting at an event the other day, and you see, you know, the startups, the, you know,
Right.
weird funky T-shirts with the suit jacket type thing, and you've got a lot like, you know, you've got the New Mexico Tech Council, and then the ABQ ID guys, and these very, very different people, and then you see the Economic Forum guys, and you know the thought leaders and the guys who've been carrying the torch and
It's
really
a nice
Albuquerque
mix.
forever. It's a fantastic mix, because they're talking about things that, you know, they're teaching each other things, and
Yeah,
before
that's
they
good.
weren't even in the same room.
Well, I'm glad they're listening to each other, or they're at least trying to come together
Totally.
and have some kind of collaborative effort.
No, absolutely, and I think that's when you start doing that and those conversations start to get legs. I mean, that's really when we kind of choose our own destiny. I think that's when, you know, the public side and the legislative side, that falls into line. You'll see, I think after the election and before the next session, I think you're going to start seeing some pretty interesting topics come to the table, and you know, they haven't been touched in a while. They've been the third rail.
That have been needing discussion, but they've been avoided.
They've been needing discussion, but they have been absolutely avoided like the plague.
Yeah.
Ian, is there any word on any new businesses coming to Rio Rancho?
So they just landed S&P data. So there's
That was nice.
that was a nice win. It's nice to see some of these smaller but more consistent and more frequent wins, right? So
Good.
450 jobs from S&P data, great data center. Well, they'll have a call center here in Rio Rancho, 450 jobs, 100 right off the bat. You know, you've got, gosh, you know, breweries seem to be growing hand over fist, right?
Yes.
And I still think that there's no data to support it, but I think there's a correlation between, you know, reinventing your city and how many breweries you have. So, you know, hopefully we can figure something out and get some data.
I like the
to support
trend,
that.
though.
I do too. You know, it's creative. It gives you
That's
buzz. It's local. It's a good
And it gives you a
feeling.
buzz.
It gives you a buzz.
Dun-dun-dun. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
It's almost
Thank
not
God
about
it's
the beer.
Monday.
It's the whole creative.
The creative
part of it.
culture
Yeah.
and the
And
socializing.
we can make good whatever.
Yeah.
It just happens to be beer.
Yeah. I mean, beer, Portland. I mean, Portland like reinvented itself on breweries. It was
Yeah, not a bad thing.
not at all.
And
not
these
at all.
breweries are packed with hipsters.
Hipsters,
We've got
no less.
hipsters.
Everybody, we have hipsters. Yeah. We
No
have
shortage
arrived.
of
We have
hipsters.
arrived.
And we have
hipsters.
an affordable, it's affordable to live here, so the hipsters don't have to live in their vans.
So,
You know, they can afford to live here.
you know, we did a series, and it was Gone for Good, and it was, really talking to a lot of people that have left. I mean, obviously we have a population that's leaving the state, but we had 2 young professionals that wrote in. This was it was the highest trafficked of the week. They wrote about why they stayed, and one of them, cost of living, and they can grow professionally much faster than they could in other cities. So there are great things here, and it's all happening. So
It's a great
always
time to be in Albuquerque. It's a great time in Albuquerque
I think
history
it's
right
exciting.
now. Yeah.
Thanks, Ian.
All right, thanks, guys.
Great reporting.
President, publisher, Albuquerque Business First, Ian Anderson, on the Morning Brew. We'll be back after this.